welcome to Dopey, the podcast about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. And I am Dave, and it's a big treat. We have an old-time guest. Old-timer, Jay.
Hi, Dopey Nation.
How you feel, Jay?
Honored and a little sad.
And you sound terrible.
I sound amazing.
Jay has the flu, but he's fucking come through anyway in the clutch. And when Jay recorded last with Dopey, Jay came down to my apartment on East Broadway, and Chris was there, and we had no mics. We talked into the computer.
Talking to a laptop or a MacBook Air or something.
I think it was a MacBook Pro.
Okay.
I think it was Chris's MacBook Pro. And there's three of us like huddled around the computer.
Right.
And I think one of the honors of Jay's episode, I think that was the longest one we had done ever when you were on.
I rambled on.
I don't think you rambled on too much. I think like it was a real drug and recovery hangout. And
I hadn't talked about war stories that long in a while. It's kind of like, all these old tales.
And Jay had...
Because you guys were newish at the time.
We were very new. I think we were at episode 20.
But in your recoveries.
Yeah, I was like 4 months in.
Yeah, you weren't talking about romance and finance. You were talking about banging dope.
Yeah, we were talking about banging dope and can we live? Could I live a life that wasn't getting high? Like how could I enjoy my life if I wasn't getting high? And that wasn't necessarily banging dope at that point because like I remember the last time I shot dope, I was like, I can't do it. It was too strong. It was just like I hadn't done dope for like 4 years, and I had done pills here and there. I wanted to smoke weed. I didn't want to be clean.
You always were a happy stoner.
I was.
I've known you for like 70 years.
Yeah, I was a really happy stoner.
You blew it.
I know. I went to treatment one time, and they want you to write a letter to your drug.
Oh, that's right. I remember doing that.
And so I wrote a letter to heroin saying that it was the slut that took me away from my virginal, beautiful girlfriend of weed. That heroin, like I cheated on weed with heroin, and it ruined my beautiful relationship with weed.
And everybody was like, don't do it. She's a tramp.
Exactly.
Like, don't go with that gal. We all know, everybody knew about you. They're like, don't. Stay with your girl. She's amazing.
That's an interesting point, though. It's like, how old, you're a heroin addict.
I am a heroin addict.
And how old were you the first time you did heroin?
I was probably 18.
And tell me the story real quick.
I mean, I was working at Barnes & Noble in the Marshalls Plaza.
Nice.
Which is in Poughkeepsie, which is where you go to shoot dope and die. Anybody from where I'm from either died or still lives there, or a few of us got out here to our fair city. But, I was a chronic drunk. Like, I was getting arrested. I was drinking a gallon of, I would save the white Gallo for the morning and the red Gallo for night.
Right.
The gallons. Remember the Gallo gallons?
The jug.
Right. So then my friend...
But you were a jug kind of guy. You were a musician.
handle guy.
Yeah. See, that was something that Chris would always say.
I wasn't yet a musician. I mean, I was playing guitar, but I was thinking I was going to be an art student, maybe. I was just a guy in Poughkeepsie. My band, a year after that, it all took off because I became the drug mule for a band, who then hired me.
Tell me more.
Okay. So this guy, whatever, I worked for him. He's like, you don't have to drink so much. Here, try this little powder. I'm going to get heroin. It's going to come. That's going to be great. And anyway, the first time I did it, unlike you, I was like, well, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life now. I found it. Because I had been reading up on it, I've been looking for it.
So, like, when you say to me, like, everyone knows that heroin's this tramp, or another way for it, everyone knows that heroin will destroy you.
That's what I wanted.
That's what you want.
I grew up Catholic.
So, explain.
Well, I grew up Catholic. There was, I wanted to do everything bad there was. I went to Catholic schools. My parents spoke in tongues. My dad was a monk before he had a family. We would say, chants. He would wash our feet in Easter. It was a real constricted, small, little, super religious world. And as soon as I had any agency, I smoked crack.
Was that the first thing you did?
No, that's not true. The first thing I did was dust off.
Really? You huffed dust off?
Which I would buy by the case. And I would tie it to my wrist with a shoelace. Because I would lose it.
Hold on. You'd have a can of dust off, and you would tie it to your wrist so you wouldn't lose it. How old were you then?
Probably 14.
How do you use
by
the dust
case.
off? I don't even know.
You just inhale it.
You shoot the dust off into your mouth?
It's camera lens cleaner, and you suck as hard as you can. It's the strongest high I ever had.
Wow.
I would see Neon Green Demons and Come To, and I came to once. Last thing I remember was doing a giant pull off this, like, dust cleaner in the 4th floor of my Catholic high school. I woke up in the basement. I'd bitten half my tongue off. I was missing a tooth. And what did I do? I didn't go, like, call the police or anything. I went and found the can, which I had dropped on the 2nd floor. And I was so maniacally driven to keep staying high.
I have to make sure I tie this to my wrist.
And from then on, I tied it onto my wrist.
How would it not fall out of the loop if it was an aluminum cylinder?
I mean, I was a pretty crafty kid.
I bet.
You know, I grew up in Hopewell. There was some woods around. I might have used rawhide laces.
It grips. It grips. So, dude, how long was your huffing career?
Until I managed to get some weed. Weed was the first thing I could get after that.
How did you meet? We have a mutual friend. How did you meet Zev from Catholic school?
I hated my school so much, and more importantly, they hated me. Like, even the teachers and the students. I mean, I'm doing a 4th step now. They're always on there. I'm so sick of going over these fucking people. Like, when will this be taken from me? But I would hang out with the kids from the local public school that were cool, and there was 3 of them that would hang out with this nerdy Catholic school guy because we played music together. And Zev was one of them.
You just met him through the ether in the town.
I met him through my childhood friend that went to Catholic school before me and then went on to public school. And then he and I would play in this band called the Mall Cheeks, which is this punk band. We play Sex Pistols covers. We're talking like the mid-'80s, maybe the late 80s. And we'd have songs like about hostess cakes and shit. It was real dumb punk, you know. And Zev got brought into that whole crew.
I love that. But I'm really very, very, very curious about the huffing the duster. Like,
yeah.
When did you trade it in? When did you realize that wasn't the drug that you could do, or did you keep doing it occasionally?
I mean, the consequences happened pretty quick with that drug. Like I was getting concussions. I remember once a doctor asked my mom to leave the room because I had a concussion. I was missing a tooth, and he looked at me and he said, "Son, we can replace a lot of things, but we can't replace brains. I'm not going to tell your mother what's going on here, but you got to clean yourself up." And I was like 14.
Right, but this is an interesting moment in the life of a young addict because he's talking about consequences,
yeah.
And you're listening to him.
I was like, yeah, whatever.
But you didn't do the fucking dust off again.
No, I continued to. I just found better drugs. I mean, it's a fine drug, but it was really, you know, I had aspirations for drugs. I needed to keep climbing the ladder. Dust off was like dangerous,
very dangerous.
And I was
also, it just so doesn't belong in you.
It was great when I found weed and combined them for a while, but then it was just like, I like drinking and weed now. Because, you know how you shift, your lines shifts?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. So you became a stoner kind of drinker.
Yeah, heavy drinker.
And the drinks overwhelmed the stony. You like the oblivion more than the
pot makes me so paranoid. THC is such a fucked up drug. I'm so insecure, and like I was the bad trip guy. I took like 1,000. When you give an alcoholic acid, like me, I would take however many were in the room, and that was bad. I would end up in the police station with amnesia. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't know my name for 3 days. I would get arrested. I was a bad trip dude. And so we just brought all that paranoia back, you know. So I remember being maybe 18. Now I made a definitive decision. I was like, I'm going to close the doors of perception.
Right.
Like, I have seen too much. I cannot function as a human. I'm either going to check myself into some kind of mental institution. There's a lot of that shit in my family. My dad was inpatient for a while. Or I'm going to just nail this door shut with like only downers, only pot. I'm sorry, only, you know, alcohol, only, and then eventually heroin.
So it was like you needed the relaxation of oblivion, if not for a better term. Like I was the same way.
I was a medicinal user.
Yeah, me too.
Not too bingy.
For me, it was like my neurosis. Like my neurosis was so high, but for some reason the THC like worked with it. Like I didn't get.
Some people are like that. My brothers are like that.
Yeah, I didn't get paranoid on pot.
No.
I would get totally relaxed. I just like you can't be too out there with weed. You have to stay inside. Mm-hmm. Like going to school high was tricky. I'd have to keep it moving. I couldn't talk too much to anybody.
I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
The secretly high thing was a big thing for me.
It was great. But psychedelics were seemed like way too much work. It was not like it was like a lot of work. And I would like Chris fucking lived for psychedelics, and he also lived for uppers. Chris like was this.
Yeah, that's that type.
He was an IV coke guy. Like he would say that was his.
I mean,
go-to.
I was a speedball guy by the end. That was my main jam.
I liked speedballs when the dope was heavy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't have.
If I had a preference.
I had a preference. I was living in Los Angeles.
I had no money.
I had very little money, too.
I was shooting crack with vinegar, and, like, I could maybe scrape together enough in a bag to not be sick. You remember vinegar? It's the only way you can melt crack.
I never had the reason to melt it.
Well, that's so you can shoot it.
When I had crack, I smoked it with that weird Asian guy. And
that's like clack.
Yeah. But one thing that's interesting to me about you, or one of the many things, is because Jay is this big-time musician, songwriter. You traveled the world.
I'm not big-time at all.
Well.
But I have. I continue to travel the world, and I write a lot of songs.
And you've been involved with a lot of people that are notable, you know?
True. I'm a footnote.
Well, a footnote in a lot of notable things, and
yeah,
but the point is, you could toot your own horn if you wanted to, but your anonymity is critical to you, and I think, like you were just saying to me off the show, like how anonymity, like, has changed, like,
yeah.
And what do you?
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
because when I first came around, I mean, everything has changed. It's gotten really weird. I remember I now have a girl sponsee in DA. Not AA. I don't really even go to AA much anymore.
Is that legal to have a girl sponsee?
Well, this is things have changed. When I first came around in the fucking, I think my grandpa brought me in the late 80s or whatever.
He was in AA.
My grandpa has been sober for like 45 years. He went to meetings with Bill.
How did it? So like,
my grandma had Lois speak at her Al-Anon meeting. Like, we're OGs.
Wow.
I'm
so
like
that
third
explains,
generation.
Hold on, and that explains a ton. So when did your grandpa? How did your grandpa get involved?
He was a Polish drunk in Yonkers, New York, and fucking somebody. It was a classic, like, I don't know, wearing trench coat, looking like AA thing from the old days.
No, but how did he get involved in your story?
Oh, well, my mom was ACA, Al-Anon all my life, which is why I hated that shit. And
what's ACA?
Adult Children of Alcoholics. Which I've since done a lot of time in. But, you know, being raised by, my mom was basically a newcomer in 12-step programs. This is a bad way to raise a kid as a newcomer. No offense, your kid's going to be great, but my mom was a freak. She was also speaking in tongues. She was really religious. I love her, but it was a weird time. Anyway, she made her father take me to meetings. I just liked it because I could smoke.
You were all fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Dad, Jay's all fucked up. Will you take him to meetings?
Before I ever touched a thing, she was like, you know, the stats are 1 in 3 children of people in alcoholic families become an alcoholic, and we think it's you.
Well, why? She was right.
I was like, I know.
So she brings you to Grandpa. Were you clean at that point?
I didn't get clean till I was 27.
So he was bringing you to meetings when you were still using?
Yeah.
So describe that to me. What was that like?
Well, it was still the days when I was like devoted to acid as a religion. I wasn't yet into like banging actual like drugs, like ghetto drugs. But you know, it was the days when I liked it because you would smoke while you shared. You would hold hands and say the Our Father. If you even looked at a girl, they would like hit you with a stick. And fast forward, fucking Williamsburg, where I live, and I'm like, I don't know if I should have this person. Should I sponsor them? They're a girl, and my sponsor's like, that's so heteronormative.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
I don't even know what heteronormative is. I can barely say it.
It's offensive to people that are queer, and I get it now. This culture changes. Recovery continues to work.
But so she's not hetero, your sponsee?
She's not.
My
sponsee is, but my sponsor is not.
Do you have a woman sponsor?
I sure do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're out there, man. It's all happening.
It's not 2018, buddy.
It's about to be 2019.
Oh, my fucking God.
It's about to be 2019. But we were on anonymity and we got off of it.
I'm just saying, in the old days, anonymity was like a Zen tradition. And I get it because my ego wants to tell Dopey Nation, whom I love and I'm deeply grateful for existing and inspire me, to like go listen to my shit so I can, I don't know, be famous or some bullshit. But that's not what this is about. This is about service, you know? It is so tempting for me to leverage my recovery in those ways, and I try to be really strict about it.
Right. Yeah, it's funny, like, and I don't even know how it equates. Like, half of the listeners know who I am because it's pretty easy to figure it out. But
everybody's like that these days. It's a new culture. I'm just old.
No. But I don't put my last name on it. Mm-hmm. I don't put a picture of myself on the thing.
Except for that dreaded last Chris episode, but that was only 8 minutes.
Oh, dude, he said my last name.
Oh, did he say it?
He said my last name on the last episode.
And you had to edit it out, right?
And then I woke up in the morning, and some beautiful person in the Dopey Nation is like, Chris said your last name, man. And I didn't edit the episodes. So I'm like fucking freaking out. And Chris, is high, and I didn't even know he was high. I was so fucking
Don't feel bad for that. I spent 10 years with a woman that was like straight up cinematic junkie style, like real movie style junkie. And I didn't know for years. And I was a junkie. I was clean in recovery.
I feel you don't. But did she live?
She lived. She's been clean. She got clean in the clinic, and has been totally fine ever since. No meetings. But she was like, I cannot exaggerate how much of a junkie she was. Chris level. So it's really possible for us that love people to not see it sometimes. Don't feel bad. I felt so stupid, but it's very common. Something
really funny happened pretty recently. On Reddit, this Reddit.
I love Reddit.
There's I wish I loved it a little bit more, but there's a Dopey podcast thing on Reddit, and run by this guy Cormac, who's a good guy, musician, good singer, good guitar player, good guy. And the Reddit Dopey people are like tough. You know what I mean? Like they have a voice that often goes against me. They often talk shit and hurt my feelings. But what are you going to do?
Reddit's a cruel place, man.
Anyway, so. Somebody recently posted on Reddit, I believe that Chris is still alive and that he gave up Dopey to pursue his PsyD and his professional whatever counseling career. And Chris and Dave collaborated to make this story a cautionary tale for the Dopey Nation, and but he's still alive. And, the responses were like, you're a fucking idiot, blah, 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 blah. But I have to say, I love that post.
Yeah.
I love that post because it,
good response.
No, I loved it because it made me feel like we were the Beatles or something, and I'm faking Chris's
dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, what a crazy thing, that anybody could think that, because Chris is totally dead. I saw his body. He died. And...
God.
And that's another thing that's happening a lot. And I understand this.
Death?
Well, death is happening a lot. But I hear from a lot of people who listen to the show about how much they miss Chris. And I miss Chris, too. And it hurts me to hear when people miss Chris. Because the first thing it does is it activates my, what the fuck, isn't the show still good? Mm-hmm. Or that's the first thing. And then the second thing...
Fucking props for saying that, man. One of the reasons the show is good is because you just say the most sensitive things. Everybody would feel something like that, I think.
Oh, dude, it's I get messages that are like, I really miss Chris on the show. Yeah. It's me too. Yeah. You know what I mean? The show was a lot of fun when Chris was on the show.
Yeah.
But Chris fucking relapsed and died. And then there's a new level of Dopey fan, which I appreciate, but it's still very painful, where they're sending me episodes that and they're describing stuff that Chris said. There's a dude who just sent me in the 100th episode. The 100th episode was a big celebration that we did 100 episodes of Dopey.
Okay, yeah.
And we open with all these voicemails, and then we start talking. And in the first 10 minutes of the show, Chris starts talking about what might happen if he relapsed, okay? And he was saying, he was really just sloughing it off, and he said, I would go back to rehab and I would do this whole thing again and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just sitting here, I'm sitting on the train and I'm listening to my friend's voice. And he had such a beautiful voice. He's such a warm...
I heard him today.
Just such a warm, nice thing about him. So
he was
talented.
A sweetheart, man. You described him perfectly. He was innocent, at the same time would take acid and speedball.
Well, he was the least innocent. Or he was the least innocent.
Isn't that funny about how we can be?
Or the dumbest smart guy.
Yeah.
He was both of those things.
Yeah.
And he was a joy. He was one of my best friends.
Yeah.
But he fucking. I'm listening to him, and he's like, or maybe I'll die. He says in the first 10 minutes of the episode 100, he says, maybe I'll die.
Motherfucker.
And I'm pissed, because when you talk about dying, you don't know, for some reason, you don't know what it's going to be like for everybody else.
That's a really good point.
You know, especially when you're an idiot fucking kid. And Chris was 34, and Chris was, you know, in his master's, in his PsyD, all this shit.
But he also did drugs, so he was probably not exactly mature.
He was not exactly mature.
No,
I think you hit the nail on the head.
No offense, I speak as someone who's not, you know, that has struggled with that for all my adult life.
And you have some time.
I do.
When you came on the first time, you had 16 years, which puts you very close to 20.
I'm at 18.
That's close.
Yeah.
You're on your way.
I guess. I got my marbles at 10, they say, right?
I don't know about that stuff.
I don't know. They say you got 5 years, you get your marbles. At 10 years, you can play with your marbles. Some old school shit.
Right.
10 years, I got into Al-Anon. 15 years, I got into ACA and SLAA. You ever try that one?
Yes. That was a very funky one.
That's a weird one. I only did about a year there. God bless those guys. But damn, that was weird.
went once. Or no, I went twice.
Yeah.
And, like, it fucked me up.
Yeah.
Like, because I went there.
You're like, is everything, like...
Well, I didn't understand it. And I literally didn't understand it. It was very like it's like if 12-step is card games, SLAA is the most complicated card game I've ever seen. You know, you go in there. When I went in there because I was so obsessed with putting my family back together. Like, I have other issues that I don't like to talk about on the show because it could fuck everything up.
Respect.
You know, like I have my own issues involving seeking attention and the opposite sex and all that shit.
Telling you the money program's the one where that's the next level for this stuff.
Right. That's the next
careerism,
level.
Time management.
So I go to SLAA because I can't have a conversation in a day where it doesn't go back to I want my family back. I want Linda back. I couldn't. I was obsessed.
It's romantic obsession in a way.
Yeah,
a very wholesome version.
It was the most wholesome version.
It's off to you.
It's like
there's guys in there that are kid touchers. You're like, I just want my family back together.
I went in there and it was like, I went to 2 meetings. The first one was like 50 people down the street at St. Francis of Assisi, like fucking wall to wall.
They're rabid.
And chicks are like giving me the eye, and I'm like, this is fascinating, you know. and then it's like, I have 60 days without porn. I have 90 days without fucking whores. Yeah. I have 100 days without, you know. It's like all of these things. My bottom line is this, but this, it's like very complicated.
They go through withdrawal. They don't masturbate or whatever. I mean, I did that for 4 years. I didn't, you know.
What do you mean?
I didn't self-pleasure for about 4 years.
That's fascinating.
It was a very fascinating time. I would wake up like punching the wall, you know. And it was a really eye-opening experience. I only did it for about a year, but I kept that going because it was so interesting.
But you had probably a robust sex life.
You know, I had just met my now wife, and you know, we were new.
So that
you know, everything was being taken care of there, both emotionally and sexually,
right.
And it was just kind of like, I mean, I'm not there anymore. I've relaxed a little.
No, I think there's. Please tell me more.
But speaking of that, though, like I will say, you know, I didn't find SLAA to be in any way a sexy place. Nobody was giving me the eye, and I love my primary program. And thank God I'm basically a junkie and not like if speedballing was like touching little kids, that would suck. I'm so grateful for the one I got or the ones I have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's something else that Chris used to always say. He would always say how he was grateful that this was his problem.
There are some seriously bad problems.
You know?
It's a bad problem, but there's a solution.
Right.
And in AA, which I don't go to too much anymore, every now and then I go because all my friends are sober, basically, we're just in lots of other things. Everybody's giving you the glad eye. Nobody's anonymous. I don't know. Nobody. It's just...
What does that mean exactly? Glad eye?
Oh, they're like... It's like well, maybe because I need to go to meetings not in Williamsburg, but they're just fucking each other everywhere.
Oh.
It's a dating scene.
Right.
It's great when you're single. It's something to do on a Friday night. There's the big meeting down there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that in theory.
It is great. It was a great resource.
My meetings now, I go to... Did you ever go there single?
Oh, my God. I spent a lot of time. I was dating in AA, finally. I was in a relationship for 10 years with that junkie before. So I was kind of grandfathered in. I had 6 years with somebody. And then at like 7 years, I had just moved to New York City. I was clean. I was at the top of my powers. My bands are doing really well. I was like, time to be a lead singer guy.
Right.
And I couldn't. I'm too nice because I don't drink.
But you were, in terms of like...
I'm too Catholic.
But in terms of you actually as lead singer guy, you were great. Dude,
That's a recovery thing. Let me unpack that for a second. I'm so sorry I said unpack. It's such a podcast term. Let me tell you about sobriety and performing.
As long as you don't say gaslight, we're good.
Oh, God.
What does gaslighting mean anyway?
It's tricky.
I don't
never
even understand.
It's like
it.
if I were to pretend like that you did something.
I don't get that at all. But get to your unpacking.
Yeah.
And unpacking is just a fancy word for explaining.
Yeah, that's stupid podcast speak.
It's okay.
Another one that everyone says on podcasts is, let's take a deep dive.
Deep dive? I've never divin anywhere.
Oh,
Can
God.
you divin?
Can you who? A divine?
I've never divin.
Look for water.
I've never dove. I've never dove.
Deep divin?
So who is deep diving? Which podcasts take deep dives?
All those silly podcasts, man. I listen to all of them. I'm addicted to them.
So how do you, before we get into the unpacking, how do you think we rate amongst the podcast world?
You're an up-and-comer, man. I keep my eye on these things. I'm impressed.
It's potential.
I would say it's there.
We got potential.
I mean, you got the thing, and there's just been a real magic occurring, and it's been a real pleasure to watch. And I think...
What were we about to unpack, though? I want to have this beautiful feeling, but
there's a lot of recovery podcasts. This one keeps it very real, and that is your niche. And it warms my heart, because that's the only way to stay clean, I think.
Right. Well, the trick is, for me, I do... The podcast is about my life now. It was about mine and Chris's life and the stuff we like to talk about. He's gone, so it's about my life and whatever person I can hornswaggle to come in, whoever that may be. And then my favorite stuff is just the dumb shit,
I know,
that happens in a sober life. So it's part of my recovery.
The massive service here is that everybody does dumb shit all the time. In recovery, people are sometimes worried that they can't be anything other than Gandhi, right? Which is so stupid. You're a year off heroin, you're expected to be like a spiritual giant. We're ridiculous. It's spiritual kindergarten. I was like an amoeba, just like attaching to anything that came near me. And the fact that you can kind of like make a safe space, another podcast term, where it's okay to be a fuck up. Like, dude, that is attraction, not promotion. That's why this works. People that are doing like, you got to meditate 20 hours a day, which is probably good. I love to meditate, but like, there's no pedestals for recovery. That's what this is about. Heroin is the great drugs and alcohol are the great equalizer.
So let's get back into the
So performing, right?
Yeah.
Before I got clean, I was doing a lot of touring. I did lines of gold records with my name on them. I did the life. It was cool. I come from Poughkeepsie. I was working at a deli called Sausage and Stuff. All of a sudden, I was on MTV. And then I'd be back at the deli, and I'd have a dope habit, and then I'd be, like traveling fucking wherever. Famous guy shit. Also deli guy. I come from really nothing. Poughkeepsie. And all of a sudden...
The wrong side of Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, not the...
Is there a right side of Poughkeepsie?
Not really, no. Okay. It's just a shitty place. The dope was $20 a bag.
It's gritty, though.
It was expensive, too. Like the real dope. The $10 bag was $20 there. That's why my habit was always kind of weird. But anywho...
well, that's how we crossed paths, and I didn't mention this.
Oh yeah, let's tell everybody
episode,
what that's about.
But Jay is the person who gave me my first bag.
A $20 bag, I should add.
No way, you got it from the Lower East Side.
Oh, okay. You
were on your way back.
Yeah.
Because I went to school in Westchester, and Jay would go.
Yeah.
And the myth.
I was mule.
The myth at the time was that Beck was on Houston Street copping. That was like what we would talk about, like amongst ourselves. I heard Beck is on Houston Street copping, and I don't know what. Beck,
I don't think I ever saw Beck.
No, me and Beck used to shoot up together back in the '90s, right before Loser came out. It's not true. I'm just joking.
Okay, because I have those stories.
I don't,
but I will not say those names.
I don't. Okay. That's a joke. I'm sure Beck is an upstanding guy. I don't know what he's ever done.
He's a Scientologist. He doesn't shoot dope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fucking Beck.
Different cult.
Dude, Beck, that record though, the Beck record,
amazing.
The Beck record,
many of them.
No, the one that fucking changed my whole existence was "One Foot in the Grave."
Yeah,
that record.
Whip loved that one.
He played it for me.
Yeah,
and it's such a mess.
It is.
But you listen to that record and you think I can make music.
I know,
and you can.
The '90s were great, man, and it's coming back. You should put your record out.
Yeah, maybe.
You sound a little bit like that indie rock '90s folk stuff.
Right. Well, that was like the kind of
like Beat Happening, Beck.
That was like the kind of aspiration without thinking I could ever do it thing.
Humility.
No, it was more like self-hatred than humility.
Fine line.
It was not humility. It was like, and also I sucked. I wasn't good. Like I'm way better now than I was then.
Hello.
And I still suck. We're back. I just didn't want to play it while my dad's phone rang. Yes, we're in Manhattan at my father's house, by the way, if you guys were curious.
It's so classic New York in here. I love it. Reminds me of growing up in Yonkers.
Does it?
Yeah, a little bit. The doors, the painting, the paint jobs.
Right.
Bathroom, the fixtures.
It's that middle-class Jewish world.
Or Catholic.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, Italian, Jewish, what's the difference? We're all New Yorkers.
Just food and guilt.
It's exactly. But I was going to go on my brief little plug for recovery and performing. One of the reviews of my band at South by Southwest in 1999. I got sober 2000, October 1st, 2000. The year 2000. Nice round number. Don't want to fuck that up.
That is a nice round number.
Right? It's I love round numbers. It'll be 20 in 2 years. The review was good band. Shame about the painfully shy singer. And this is a year or two before I got clean. And I was probably doing a little methadone because I was traveling. Definitely drinking. You know what I mean? Just to get me through shows. But I was the painfully shy singer. Fast forward to it was a sweaty few years in recovery at the beginning. The plane didn't take off very neatly. And I wasn't always the greatest performer, but if you can sweat it out and actually do steps, my sponsor my early sponsor had me do voice lessons. You know what I mean? I had the weirdest sponsors. I had a sponsor once that told me to read Greek philosophy, paideia and shit. Anyway, and then I got voice lessons. And that had nothing. I only did 4 of them. Basically, she was like, you can sing, but you're just too worried about being cool.
This is a great metaphor for all of recovery.
Exactly. And so I was like, okay, humility time. And I just went up there, and a manager of ours filmed my band. And he was like, we need to film you so you need to be more of a performer. And I was like, I know, I'm working on it. I'm sober or whatever. And I watched footage of me on stage. And he was like, okay, go out there and give it your all. They taped it. I went back. I was like, I was such an asshole. I was running around like fucking Robert Plant. Who does that? I felt so stupid. And I watched the tape, and I was just standing there. I wasn't doing anything. In the tape that I felt like I was being an asshole,
you weren't doing anything.
Theatrical dude.
You had this
I was
idea.
Just standing there.
Because you were bugged out.
Because I was self-conscious.
Yeah.
Ego and self-awareness is not good for performing or sex. Those two things.
Right.
You just got to do what you're doing.
Right.
Which is total recovery. That's Zen, The Art of Recovery the book was so huge for me when I was a kid.
Zen and the Art of Recovery.
Yeah.
Who wrote that book?
I don't remember the guy's name, but it's Buddhist take on recovery. I'll find it for you.
I think it might have been the Thich Nhat Hanh. A Thich Nhat Hanh?
It wasn't Thich Nhat Hanh.
Okay, then it was not Thich Nhat Hanh.
No, but he.
I had some Miracle of Mindfulness Thich Nhat Hanh recovery book. And I remember, though, I would go to COP and I would be reading his book.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue. Because
wonderful.
I love what you're saying, though.
Anyway, I got clean, and it took about 3 or 4 years. And if anybody's in a band and they're getting clean and they're worried about it, performance reviews started coming in this is the indie rock Prince. Great band, mainly because of the lead singer's performance. So, it went from painfully shy, decent band, painfully shy singer, to me actually quitting drinking to becoming the indie rock Prince or whatever the fucking reviewer said.
Right.
So, I can't think of a better pitch for goddamn recovery. It just takes a minute.
And what do you think the change was in you? Between, what changed, that you... Because for me, I know, and I'm not there yet. I'm wherever I am. But, every day as myself is a little bit more natural. And every day, I know how bad it can be or how good it can be, and I'm pretty satisfied between those lines. I don't know how to describe it. I'm pretty okay.
That's a good description.
I'm pretty okay with who I am, and it's all because of the recovery. And I hate proselytizing on the show, but it's just, listen, I wouldn't be doing a show about recovery if recovery didn't save my stupid ass. Actually, that's not true. We set up the show about recovery because I thought it would be entertaining to talk about drugs. It saved
your ass.
It saved my ass, and it quickly became a testimony to that fact.
Well, there you go. One good thing a good way to get that, you take the drugs and try to swap the band out. You take the drug and swap out a podcast. Like, find meaning in your life. And there was a humility to that. And I don't know why I was just able to, like, be a worker among workers. I was like, oh, music is a service position. I call myself a vibe mechanic. People have a shitty week. They want to pay $8 and go to a club, drink a couple beers because they can. And it's my job to make them have a transcendental experience. I'm literally working for these people. It's not about what people say about me. I'm here to make people feel better.
And it makes you feel better. It's just like this whole thing.
Exactly.
Let me ask you this.
You wiggle around a lot, and they feel like they had a good one. And then I have to go back to work on Monday. So I do a bunch of shit, and I shake it out, and they feel like they've had the catharsis. That's my job for them.
My waitering is all in cathartic waitering. I've invented it.
I believe it.
Cathartic waitering is when the customer comes in, and I push them to the brink of wanting to kill me or kill themselves, and then I bring them back, and then we've been through this experience together, and we've been through it together, and we've recovered together just from the terrible aspect of me having served them, and at the end, it's like they've been through it.
Interesting.
And it's this cathartic waitering.
They bond with you.
They've bonded a little bit because they thought they hated me, and then by the end of it, they kind of like me.
There might be a hint of gaslighting in there, my friend.
Is that gaslighting?
It might be a little bit.
What is it?
I don't know.
Explain it.
I get confused. It's something I don't ever want to do.
Maybe I do. It's not cathartic. Maybe I'm a gaslighting waiter.
I think gaslighting is when you tell somebody that they've done something that they haven't done, and you just kind of act like that's definitely what happened.
I do that as a waiter. But I think it's pretty harmless as a waiter because I'm not going to see them again.
I think that you're probably just, if they love you by the end, you just take them, like comedians will do that.
Yeah, it's shtick.
It's what you do.
What was the other thing I was going to ask you?
Like you fuck with people, then you bond with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's.
And we do that even in the qualifying, right? I like to throw in a little I like to get the audience riled up in a meeting where I'm just like,
What's the technique with that?
Sometimes I'll insult recovery.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, that was my next question. It's like, because when you can bandy about phrases like worker among workers and all of these, I do it. I do it too. And I remember, though, when I first got in there, I fucking couldn't handle the phrases because I wasn't meant to be a worker among workers. I didn't know. I hated to be pushed to do the next right thing. I wrote a song called "The Next Wrong Thing" when I was in treatment.
That's good.
It was good. It was all minery. It was like I really want to. I never fleshed it out.
You should. That's a killer title.
When do you think it turned for you that the phrases that you could feel
them?
That's
a really good question. Because sometimes I'm like, why do I have this stupid post-it in my bathroom now? But there's something creepy about those sayings. It's like they're the stupid, tritest shit my mom would say when I was a kid, and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, easy does it, but do it.
Right.
Wow. You know what I mean? I don't know.
No. It's like that whole thing. But
it's just deeply true.
And when you were, at the end of your using run, what was that? Like, what was the thing that changed?
It's like a chess game in reverse, right? Or no, it's a chess game, but you're not the winning team. It was checkmate. I did it. Like I said, I was a functional user. I wanted to be like, I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, but like stay medicated. I wasn't a bingey guy too much, although I would go off the rails periodically. But drugs has this beautiful way of like taking everything away step by step, where I just could not do it anymore, and I was just alone in my car shooting dirt that wasn't even dope anymore, and I had cotton sickness. Remember that?
Yeah.
And my car had one headlight in Poughkeepsie and like some dirt road on my way to my $500 apartment with my ex-junkie girlfriend. I was a direct care person for folks with disabilities. God bless them. I love them.
That was your job.
I changed diapers for a living.
Yeah.
I'd be in full-on withdrawal having to change a fully grown man's shitty diapers.
Wow.
Fun times in Poughkeepsie, New York, right? And track marks, right. And like I had walking pneumonia, and the chess game was over. I could not physically go anywhere anymore. I had to go to a hospital, and it wasn't the first hospital, and I had been hiding it from everybody for the 9,000th time. And
they knew, though.
They cornered me.
Everybody knew.
Yeah, probably. But I also cut everybody out so they couldn't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They just assumed it at that point.
My partner was kind of probably like, she would find like a lemon in my bag and be like, are you melting crack in a spoon with lemons again? You know what I mean?
That's funny. So That's a serious bottom, though. To be dope sick, changing adult diapers. I mean, that's like serious place to
Cinematic, I call it.
Yeah. I can feel the shivers in me, you know.
And I was never well because I didn't have any money. So I was always mildly dope sick, at least, if not full on. And I was stealing her methadone.
She was on the program.
She was, and she was so good, she would get take-homes. And every night, for like a year, I would crawl over her sleeping body, break into her like little Scooby-Doo lunchbox with a padlock on it, and kind of, I had a way of like taking the glue off the label, and I would siphon a little into like a medicinal tincture jar. And I did that for a year, and I developed like a weird little methadone habit.
Right.
So dope didn't work. And I kicked for like 3 months in that fucking hospital.
It's like the worst of all worlds. You were in the hospital for 3 months.
No, I was in the hospital for a week, but my legs didn't stop twitching for like 3 months after that.
Right,
you know?
Right.
It was brutal. I didn't sleep for weeks.
So what was the beginning of the do you remember the beginning of the recovery at all?
I mean, there's a lot of false starts. I got clean for about a year in my early 20s after treatment. That recovery...
That was probably right after you gave me my first dope. It's probably that year.
I was probably 22. So when was that?
I think we were both...
I'm surprised I was giving dope out, so it might have been
I'm sure
early.
we paid you for it.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about... we were both born... You were born in 1974?
73.
Okay, so you're a year older than me.
Yeah.
But Zev was born in 1974.
Yeah.
No, it was... I would say I started college in 92, 93 in Ithaca. Me and Zev got kicked out.
That's right.
But we didn't get kicked out. We transferred before the kick out happened.
Very smart.
It was awesome.
He was all of a sudden not up there anymore.
It was both of us. We did it at the same time.
I didn't realize.
And we were there. We were at Purchase. It was the first year of Purchase. We were at Purchase for a year. It was towards the end of the year. And Jay was copping dope. And Zev always wanted you to come by. And you came through and you had this dope, and I'm sure we paid for the dope.
Probably.
I'm sure we did.
A premium price, I'm sure.
But like, why wouldn't we?
There was my fee as well.
Yeah,
and there probably wasn't as much in the bag as there was when I first got it.
But I don't know if you thought of this or not. I had never done it. Zev, I think, had done it. It fucking destroyed me. I was throwing up like the whole night. And it's funny.
Newbie.
This morning, right, I'm on the train. I take the Long Island Railroad into Manhattan. And this morning I was on the phone on the train, which is a no-no. Like, it's bad train etiquette. You don't do that. And I have these Fakakta Apple earbuds, okay? And I'm on the phone, and I think there was some kind of smell or something on the train. And all of a sudden I got nauseous, like really nauseous. And I recalled all of the nauseous times of using like that. Like I had my basic state was nauseous. You know what I mean? Like from the dope, from the methadone, in the sickness, whatever. And when I would do dope for the first time, like it was just pure projectile vomit. I mean, and then whenever I did too much dope, I would like crave to throw up. Like I remember.
Oh yeah, I loved throwing.
Yeah, I loved it. I would get out of the car and be like,
me
on
too.
the side of the road.
I was a pro.
Yeah, and then you feel better.
Like stealth puking, very precise.
Yeah, but as soon as you do it,
you're high again.
Yeah, and your stomach feels good.
Yeah.
And I'm on the Long Island Railroad today, and I was like, I haven't felt this in so long. It was just bizarre.
Well, also that goes away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing about the chess match is like, it goes away. It all goes away. All the good things go away. Like you can't sustain it.
Well, you're talking about a prolonged state of not being able to stay well at all because you had no money. You're diluting your fucking girlfriend's methadone. I mean, and that's, to be honest, that's terrible, but that's no better than being in the program. You get the same fucking results. You know what I mean? You're just at some terrible maintained level where you want more. I mean, it was... I was in a clinic for many, many years in Los Angeles, and what I would do is I'd wake up. I would go to bed at 9 o'clock at night because I had nothing to live for. All I would live for was dawn. And at dawn, I would steal $10 from my girlfriend. I would cop a balloon or two. I would shoot it.
I missed the Black Tower.
And then I would go to the methadone clinic. And then I would go through my day. Maybe
you were on the clinic.
Yeah, but I would. But if you did the dope before you drank the methadone, that was the one moment that you could feel it the most in the day.
Oh God, that's dark.
Yeah, it was that kind of time. I would steal her ATM card. Only I wasn't stealing it because she knew that it was happening. I didn't even work at all. It was just one of those things. But my point is, like,
Those
even if
balloons, they were so exotic to me from New York.
Oh man, but it was a whole different thing because with bags, with glassine bags, no one's taking it out of their fucking mouth to give it to you.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Because it's not water resistant.
They got it ready to swallow. Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Like that, we here, like there is no emergency move.
I did around here. I got arrested for copping with my brother, and the move was to throw it.
Right.
While they were chasing me.
Right.
They pistol whipped my brother.
Really?
I got arrested twice in the same day in the Lower East Side, not far from like the Beck area where I first did this podcast with you. And I went to jail for an afternoon and then got out and copped again, and they busted me again, but I threw it in time for them not to find it.
And they let you go?
After they beat my brother.
And your brother's a beautiful, beautiful young man.
I know.
Did they beat him ugly?
They just pistol whipped him, and they mocked him on the street and told everybody in the neighborhood, like, this white motherfucker is here to buy drugs from your kids. And my brother said the entire neighborhood booed him while he, like, shamefully walked home.
Was that a true story?
Total true story.
You were there?
No, pre-cell phones. He told me we finally found each other in, Grand Central. And
that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Because they didn't boo him. Nobody even listened.
I'm sure he was jeered. The Lower East Side in the summer in the late 90s, I'm telling you. That was
hysterical. That's hysterical. The idea of it is just like, it's a funny scene.
It's a funny story.
Boo! And they're
especially if you know him, he's so straight.
Oh, yeah. Your brother's like Clark Kent.
He is.
He's totally like that. Now, I have a voicemail. Would you like to hear a voicemail from the Dopey Nation?
Please.
Okay. Yeah, this is from this guy from Texas named Chris. Ironically, Chris is a longtime Dopey guy. He sent in a few voicemails along the way. Very sweet character. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, Dave? What's up, Dopey Nation? This is Chris from Austin. It's been a while since I've reached out or sent in any voice memos or anything, so I thought I'd do one now. I'm just driving. And it's been a stressful kind of week for me. My little infant 1-year-old daughter fell off of something and gashed her eyebrow open, and we had to go to the emergency room, and she had to get 3 stitches. And excuse me. Guess what they had to do? They said we have to sedate her a little bit to keep her still. And you'll never guess what the 2 options were. Option A was fentanyl and Versed in the nose, or IV ketamine. This is for an infant. So I thought Dave and the Dopey Nation might want to hear that. It threw me off guard. I couldn't imagine giving a baby something like that. But anyways, we went with the fentanyl and the Versed because it's actually supposedly safer than the ketamine. So we've just been getting past that. But anyways, I just wanted to tell a pretty damn dopey story from back in 2008 when I was in this treatment center. It was like a public detox and government-funded rehab. You could pretty much just go there. Sometimes the court sent people there. It was a 90-day thing. I went there twice, and so I have a bunch of stories from this place. But this one in particular is pretty crazy. So, as a drug addict, especially at that time, I just went there to calm my nerves. I wasn't trying to really get clean. I was just trying to get off the streets and just take a break for a little while. Maybe, I don't know. And I had external forces trying to put me in there and everything. Well, anyways, I went. And so, as a drug addict, when you're abstinent and you're not really wanting to be, I don't know. For me, I'm always on the lookout. If I see somebody wearing a cast, that means they might have some pain pills or something like that. I'm always looking for opiates. And anyways, at this place, there was a big medicine cabinet. You were allowed to take medicine there. And I think I know that they even had some, people there taking narcotics and stuff. So it wasn't a very strict rule on that. And so they put me in charge of the linens, which was right back there near the medicine cabinet. And honestly, there was no cameras or anything. This is 2008 government-funded rehab. I couldn't fucking believe they had me back there near this medicine cabinet. Well, so one day I was like, okay, nobody's around here. I'm gonna dip into this thing real quick and see what's what. And I didn't find any drugs that day. But I did find a pack of syringes, which I took a couple. But anyways, I did notice a lockbox inside of the medicine cabinet. And I said, that has to be the narcotic box. It's got to be it. They have to have a key somewhere. So my drug addict scheming mind said, I need to get this key. And so a day or two later, it was actually a few days before I left, I created like a diversion in one of the bathrooms or something. There was like one staff member sitting at a desk like right outside this room, and I saw to it that the staff member had to go deal with something. I don't remember what exactly I did. I may have just waited for her to go away, but I waited, and then I knew her that I seen them with the keys before. They kept them in a desk drawer. Once she left, grabbed the key, went back there, opened up the narcotic box, took everything. I got a big old bottle of Vicodin, which was really all I really wanted was some painkillers. And then went put the key back, and I just felt so slick. And it was crazy. And anyways, I got out a few days later, and I was high before I even left. I mean, I was high a lot at that place. But anyways, so the terrible part of this story is that I did go back to this rehab after I got my ass whooped on the streets a little bit more. And I wondered where that particular staff member was. And then they were like, oh, I think she got fired or something. And I was like, oh, God. Anyways, not real proud of that, but it is some truly drug addict shit to, like, heist some pills or to score like that, especially whenever you're without, So, I don't know. I thought that was a funny story. We also found a wallet at that rehab that happened to have a bag of coke in it, which we shot. I don't know. It was just the craziest experience at this treatment center. And, but nowadays, that was a long time ago. I've been in and out since, but I've actually got a year and about 15 months clean. So I'm still doing good. I remember right around the 100th Dopey episode, I sent in a voicemail, and my voice was real shaky, and I was like 30 days clean, and I'm doing better now. I'm liking the life of recovery. It's stressful sometimes, but it's worth it. So, thanks, Dopey Nation. Thanks, Dopey Nation Facebook page. I like getting on that. And thanks, Dave, for keep doing Dopey. And Chris, you fucking asshole, I miss you. And peace out. Toodles. Oh, and stay strong.
Love that guy, Chris. Such a sweet, 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 sweet voice.
That was heartwarming.
And so happy. He's got some time.
Yeah.
And it's selfish and kind of weird, ego-y thing, but I love people who can measure their time against the podcast time and they start listening to it. And, I do not take any credit for anybody except one guy who says Dopey saved his life. God bless you, Randy, wherever you are. But Chris has been around, forever. I guess he's in and out. He's 15 months. He's a little kid. What a crazy story, though.
That's so good to hear. I have many friends who are new fathers, and it's definitely the hardest thing for their recovery.
Oh, dude, my kid, I never, got confused between my daughter and my higher power. But some people can think that's what it was. But I was not aware of who I wanted to be or who I didn't want to be before I had the kid. And I remember, thank God, fucking me and my dad would drive to Long Island to take care of Nora when she was a baby. And we were cheap. I guess I was cheap. My dad was kind of cheap. And we didn't buy a car seat for his car. And it was like court ordered that he would bring me up there.
Amazing.
To pay attention to me and her. To be the monitor or whatever. So we drive back to Linda's apartment, and Nora's 2. And we're taking the car seat out of the car. And Linda lives in these shitty apartments that she wound up living in for a long time. We just moved out of them just now.
Yeah.
And we put the car seat on the curb. And Nora wanders up to the curb at 2 years old, and the car seat's just there, and she steps on the edge of the car seat. The whole thing flips, and Nora's head bangs into the curb. As this happens, Linda pulls up I pick Nora up. Blood is gushing out of her head. Linda's pulling up, and she's just trusting me, this drug addict, with her daughter.
Ugh.
She pulls up. There's blood everywhere. She's freaking out, and it was weird. I mean, it just showed, it kind of foreshadowed our relationship because my dad wound up going home, and me and Linda wound up taking Nora to the hospital. And they didn't fucking give her shit. You know what I mean? And she was all
no
fucked up.
fentanyl for her.
She didn't get fentanyl. What was the other one? Viscet? What is that?
I never heard. That's one I didn't know.
And no, they didn't. And then another time she fell down and she fucking cut her head open with her grandparents. Thank God that wasn't my fault. And they didn't give her anything for that either.
But also, new fathers, they don't sleep. It's really hard to get to your regular meeting schedule. It's just a really tough time. You're in the gauntlet, I call it.
But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm a great father, but I don't, if I'm working, Linda deals with the baby at night, it's understood.
Sure.
Because we have a little baby.
Yeah.
There is no time. There is no time for you. The only time for me, for example, yesterday was my day off, and my me time was shipping out fucking Dopey packages.
I get it, yeah.
That was my big me time.
I mean, it's selflessness. It's like we were talking earlier, I don't have any kids, but I have a stepdaughter. It just got a little glimpse of what it was like to be my parents, and I immediately made yet another amends to them. So it's there's just perspective you get where the world isn't about you. I really am actually jealous of new parents because they get this radical, it's not about me anymore kind of perspective, which is pretty honest.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right in your face, and their needs are definitely supersede yours, and
which is the way Earth was before your kid. Right. It's just you
just didn't realize
junkies don't progress past the kid part.
Right. But it's we talked about this a bunch of times on the show. How and God bless everybody, but there's a ton of people who don't get to make that shift when they have kids, and I mean, one thing I always believe, and I say this all the time, is that I think anybody, no matter how far gone they are, or no matter where they are, or how many kids they don't take care of, they can come back.
Oh my God! Yeah.
There is a great comeback story in everybody. That's my favorite thing.
Most of us are comebacks.
Exactly. If the story's not a good ending, it's not over, man.
Well, just keep trying.
Yeah.
It's not entirely true, I know, but
it's just so sad what happened to our friend, to Chris, and to Todd, and to everybody else that died. But Chris and Todd's, their epic place in my life has eclipsed all the other casualties. There were a bunch of other Dopey casualties. There was this guy Dave Marshall, who is Chris's friend. There was this guy Andrew, who was going to be our intern, and I met him for coffee, and the next day he overdosed. It was just so sad. But I want to shift gears for a second here because there's a couple more things I want to talk about, and we're kind of in the play because I think I'm gonna get Chris's girlfriend or we can't call her ex-girlfriend if he's dead.
That's a really good question.
I don't know.
It's not widow.
It's not widow, but they definitely treated Annie like she was John. I always made fun of her and called her Jackie Onassis, and she's from. I don't remember where she's from. I think she's from Venezuela.
He had a young Kennedy look, Chris.
Yeah, he was like that. But she never got the reference and she was like, "What are you talking about?" But so I think she's going to come on because we're going to talk a little bit more about missing Chris. Because it is Christmas after all.
That's right.
This is actually Christmas, not Christmas. Right. Oh, and another weird thing that the Dopey Nation should know is that Jay has the same birthday that Chris had.
I know.
Why does that make you sad?
Because he died.
Yeah.
I'm just sad when I think about him. And also, he passed not far from my birthday.
Yeah, that's true.
How old was he? 34?
He was 34.
Yeah.
He was 10 years younger than me. I remember I was listening to the episode you were on, and he was like, Jay seems so much more together than you, Dave, and he's so much better looking. It was he's so fun. It was he's just so funny on there. Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about.
If I could go back to 34, there was so much beautiful life in your 30s.
Oh, dude, when I was 34, I was a fucking train wreck. Yeah. I was that was the pinnacle of
if
my
you can be clean for your 30s, oh my God, it's so epic.
Was it great?
Oh my God, because I got clean at 27, which I thought was old, but is not. being at the height of your, like, I don't mean new clean, I mean like 5 to 10 years clean. As a fully formed adult, at the height of your powers, still in rock bands, the 30s are really beautiful. You're not old. You're not young.
You have experience.
Yeah, you're not.
You still look good. You can pass for young.
You can still be young. Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
So here, that is something for all of you guys who are in your 20s.
More carrots to dangle, my friends.
And dude, if you're in your 40s, being clean in your 40s is good too. Even in your 50s, I bet it's
being
good.
dirty in your 50s and 60s is horrible.
Terrible.
Don't do it.
It's got to be bad.
You're like that guy then.
It could happen to us. It could happen.
Yeah. Very easily.
But like, it's a nice carrot to dangle. I like that. But my point was, it's fucking Christmas, and billions of people are just going out left and right over the holidays. Did you ever have any like holiday malaise? Do you have any holiday dopiness to talk about?
I mean, I certainly have been like dope sick during the holidays. Yeah, I wanted to write a song called Junkie Christmas at one point, but I never got around to it. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I mean, just like scraping bags on Christmas Eve, you know? Yeah. Or going to visit my parents and me and my ex saying, fuck it, and like calling the guy on the way there. And the only thing we had to shoot up was the water I had in the car to keep the radiator was leaking.
Wow.
So we used radiator water, you know? And then what an asshole I don't remember it. I must have been such a, like, speedballing at Christmas Eve in a big Italian family.
Right.
Like, who does that? Who eats the 7 fishes then? Not me.
That's funny.
They must have been so worried about
What
me.
are the 7 fishes?
I don't know. And the number keeps changing. I can never keep straight. It's like whatever's on sale in my family.
I remember the last Christmas. I'm Jewish, obviously. To anybody who's not listening, I'm Jewish, who hasn't listened before. So it wouldn't be obvious unless you listened. So
it's not obvious.
It's not obvious through the thing. If you see me, it's more obvious. But I always went to this guy's house for Christmas. My Filipino.
So you didn't
friend.
celebrate any Christmas
Here? No.
Okay.
No, we very Jewish. No Christmas. My sister always wanted a Christmas tree, and we would never get a Christmas tree.
Because some Jews do.
Some Jews do. I call them fake Jews.
Yeah, New York Jews there's a term for it.
But fucking every year I went to Christmas in Stuyvesant Town at my Filipino friends. And every year until I got a terrible dope habit. And then I didn't go for, I want to say, 13 years. I didn't go. And I moved to California, and I moved back, and I went. And I was off. I still smoked weed. And then the next year I still smoked weed, and I went. And then the next year I was relapsing. Like, I was relapsing bad. And I went to Christmas, and in that little pocket in my jeans, it was just loaded with dope. I probably had a bundle and some Xanax.
Damn.
And I was at that party, and I didn't do it because I didn't want to, like, I wasn't sick or anything. I was just so excited to leave and go home and get high. Like, I had, like, the secret in my pocket.
I remember that.
And I was so excited.
That's really well put.
To walk home. Like, and the Christmas carols are in my head because I'm so excited to fucking get high, you know? And that's just a piece of it was a piece of my using. I remember also, and this was like, for some reason, this story, it's not really even a story, and it's like really kind of glorification, but like it just, I can never let go of it. I think I've told it on Dopey before, but when I was living in Los Angeles, like I would always wake up before the sun would come up to go score when people weren't scoring. The only people there were the methadone guys, like the really hardcore guys, you know, because I didn't want to get, you know, busted. I didn't want to be around commuters. I wanted to be there like when it was just so safe. It was like basically the middle of the night.
Which is why you went to bed at 9.
Yeah, I would go to bed.
You were strategic.
Yeah, as soon as I could. And when I woke up, I was so excited, you know. And it was winter.
Every day was Christmas for you.
It might not have been Christmas, but it might have been every day was Christmas. But there was a blind guy that sold dope in downtown Los Angeles. And it was like, I don't remember exactly where it was. You drive down the 10 past downtown Los Angeles, and you're like in a different part of downtown Los Angeles. And I couldn't, people ask me like, where did I go to detox? Where did I do this? I don't remember any of it. I don't remember shit about Los Angeles. Like,
that's amazing.
But the fucking heroin dealer was blind. And his name was Sergio, okay?
Of course.
So when I would drive home...
I feel like I've known Sergios.
I would sing Let It Snow but I would substitute Sergio for I'd go Sergio.
Oh my God.
And I'd be beaming driving back from comping, and that's the thing. It's like that's the beginning, and when you're sick and you have some, life is good, but until you realize that everything is misery, nothing's really good. But to do a podcast about drug addiction and not talk about that excitement.
Oh my God, of course.
Right?
That's why we all know each other.
Right. That's what we've been through. That's the cathartic nature of our recovery.
And like that thing, I have that thing, it moves around in life. It was dope. It'll become other things.
Right.
It's the girl. It's the job. Like the stash. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I went to so many other programs. It doesn't, I don't know. If you can point that thing in the area of like good things, it's super powerful. We're like super people. Imagine it wasn't dope and it was like philanthropy. Then you're Bill Gates.
Right. The secret in your pocket. Whatever.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, right now it's Dopey.
Exactly. Which is service.
Which is sometimes it's self-service and sometimes it's other service, and it makes me happy.
As annoying as Bill W. is to me these days, it's brilliant. He figured out that if we help people, we get helped. If we get something when we give something, it's the perfect junkie math. It's like the only way to feel okay is to give things. It's brilliant.
Right, and you have to actually get to the point where you can internalize it, and you can actually quantify what you're getting based on what you're giving.
Yeah.
And it's like weird.
You run to the newcomer because you had a bad day. You know what I mean?
Because it's like the weird gift that keeps on giving. But that's okay. You know what I mean? Because if you're actually like hooking somebody up and you're getting the byproduct of helping them, like that's fucking, it is genius.
It's weird. And it's definitely, it's this weird recovery Aikido because it doesn't feel intuitive. It doesn't feel like that would ever make any sense, but there's something about it. I can't put my finger on it. And I'm like more or less still an atheist. I was abused by priests. 12 steps is great for me. I don't believe in like some mystical mumbo jumbo. There is a magical thing about community and like addicts who get the thing in your pocket thing, like people who get that and the stomach flip or whatever. I don't know. It's like a real tribal thing. It's super powerful and it can stop addiction, which nothing can, but that can. It's weird.
Right on.
You can hear my voice is going.
Yeah. Jeff, you guys didn't know Jay's very ill, but that's the kind of service fucking addict in recovery that Jay is. He's like, fuck it, I've been worse than this, and you wanted to do it. Jay, the other thing about Jay, it was a month ago, and I was fucking paranoid about where I was going to get a guest, and Jay's always in my pocket. You're one of my secrets in my pocket.
I'm close by. I'm in that little pocket now.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, finally, I'm going to unleash the recovery and the addiction that is Jay. And I text him, and he's like, I like to schedule things far in advance. And
my DA sponsor has got me so like G-called out. Yeah, I'm in this whole new thing. You happen to catch me when I'm a newcomer in another program. But
it worked out, and then you held the date.
Oh my God!
Yeah. And I'm terrible about that. I'm like, fuck it. Maybe I don't want to do it then. But I love Jay, and Jay's somebody that like fucking like we never spent time together, but we did in periphery, and I always had a place, like this place of who you were in my head and my heart, and it was like how I was describing the other Jason before. I always felt the same way about you. And I only get to see you on social media and shit, but that's because I live very far away. If I still lived here, I would make it my business to go to Brooklyn.
That'd be great.
And
We'd love to have you.
But thanks for coming on, man.
Man, it is my sincere pleasure.
If he wasn't all fucked up, we'd be doing some ripping. Would you have done Do You Know It's Christmas?
Oh, my God.
Do you like that song?
You mean the hilarious 80s song?
Yeah, the Band-Aid song.
Yeah, I would. It's a beautiful song. It's ridiculous and super condescending.
Yeah, it really is. Maybe next Christmas, Jay will do You Know It's Christmas with me.
Can we call, or we can just come up with, we can call it Junkie Christmas. I always want to do something called Junkie Christmas.
So you want to write a song called Junkie Christmas for next?
Maybe we should.
I was going to do some kind of dopey Christmas. Like I had a parody in my head, but I forgot what it was now.
Well, I'm available for production.
All right. Next year, look for the Dopey Christmas album dropping in December of 2019. And stay strong.
Yeah, guys.
And I think we're not going to say goodbye because I think I'm going to have Annie call in.
Epic.
Yeah, could be. But thank you for coming on.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Always.
Bye, Dopey Nation.
Bye, Jay. So that was Anonymous Jay, a fucking bastion of dopey and recovery. And for all of the people who are keeping score, a few episodes ago on episode 162, where we played Trials and Tribulations, which I was actually supposed to save for the Christmas episode, that was Jay. Look at all the trials and tribulations, sinking in a gentle pool of wine. Anyway, that was Jay. So we're going to move on with this dopey Christmas episode, and we're going to call up Annie and check in with her. Just in case you didn't know what we were going to do. That's what we're going to do.
Hello.
Hey, Annie, how you doing?
Hi, good, and you?
I'm all right. You're on the show, as I said, and we're checking in around the holidays, and everybody, everybody misses Chris, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you miss Chris much more than the people who listen to the show. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to say hi to everybody. So I was actually thinking, yesterday was marked 5 months since Chris had passed away.
Yesterday was 5 months?
Yeah, yesterday was 5 months. I can't believe it's been that long already. It's one of those things that as time goes by, it becomes very obvious that you become functional again. Like you can go about your day. You're not in constant pain, but I guess you're still in pain, but you get used to it.
It's a lingering thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's lingering, and then you remember. Like I can go about my day, and then for moments I forget, and then I remember, and it's like it happened yesterday. I miss him just as much as I missed him before. It hurts to not have him just as much. Like I just kind of accept the new reality and then like move on in terms of go about your day, do the things that you need to do. And you're not depressed or sad all the time. But it's just like this lingering feeling like something's missing. Like
well,
there's
something
definitely something big missing.
Yeah, it's like a phantom limb or something. It's a phantom.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. I like that.
Well, it's like that. I mean, like I know you and me have it way different with this. In some ways it's similar, and in some ways it's different. I have these weird sort of moments, preparing the show, or even at work. Sometimes I'll be at work and I'll think about Chris or I'll think about Todd, and I can imagine them coming in because they would come into my job all the time. And how regular it was and how fun it was when they would come in and that they're not going to come in again. And just, I was talking about it earlier on this episode because people are constantly sending me, I mean, I know they're not doing this to you and you're lucky. They're constantly sending me dopey episodes where Chris said something that was particularly fucked up because of the circumstance. So, like, I was talking about it earlier on the show that somebody sent me a link to the 100th episode, right? And in the beginning of the 100th episode, I don't know, like 10 minutes in, Chris is talking about what would happen if he relapsed, And
really? What? I mean, besides the fact that he probably said he would die.
Well, no. The first thing he said is whatever. I would just do the same thing as I always do. I'd go to treatment, and then I'd wind up in this place or that place. And then he's like very nonchalantly says, or maybe I would die,
Yeah.
And it's like it's such a fucking abstract concept when you're talking like that, you know? And it's like, and here we are, we live with, you don't think about how death is forever for the living, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very final. I've tried several times to listen to the Dopey episodes, and I've listened to a few of them, but I try not to. I think at some point I'll be ready for that.
I don't think so. I mean, it's like, because
but not yet.
It's like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like those stories of the towns that would exist near a volcano or near Hiroshima. And like the people are just going about their business, and then all of a sudden they're all gone. And that's what it was like with Chris in this show. Because
no, I agree. I feel like the stories, for me at least, were funny when he can look back at them and say, okay, I survived them all, I'm still here. They're just more, they feel a little bit morbid now to me, because I hear the stories and all I can see is like, well, like my first thought is, well, you had no fucking chance. You know, like it's just kind of like one more thing that you did that was really fucked up. One more thing that happened that was really fucked up, and you just got really lucky that you survived it until you didn't anymore.
Yeah,
that's
like
how it feels to me.
I feel like it needs to be a cautionary tale to everybody that listens, because I know that when I was using and I would say I could die, that I didn't really think I could die, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe I thought I could die, but I didn't know what it would look like. And I think, you know, I didn't tell you about this, and I talked about it earlier this episode also. I should have saved this for you. But there was a post on Reddit supposing that Chris didn't die, that this was something that me and him concocted so he could go on with his professional life and Dopey could have a lesson, you know.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Wouldn't that be amazing? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be like, what wouldn't I give to have that be the reality? You know, I think holidays are particularly tough because all I can think about is how this holiday would be so much different than it is if he was still around. I think about all the plans we had made for this holiday, and he's not around anymore to see those plans through. It's very, very hard. Sometimes during my day, for a split of a second, I forget that he's not around anymore, and something happens, and I'm like, oh, I need to tell Chris about it, or I wonder what Chris would say about this. And then, you know, the reality that he's not here anymore, and that he's very irreplaceable. And I think that's really hard, because I'm old enough and I've been in enough relationships to know that the type of connection and relationship I had with him is not something that comes around often, and it will never come around again for me. So that's hard. It's hard to feel like I can't replace the relationship I had with him, and when like the sort of like the type of communication that we had that was not necessarily about words, you know, that he knew what I was thinking just by looking at me, or that we would watch TV and something would happen, and we would hear somebody tell a story and he would look at me a certain way, and I knew what he was thinking, and he knew what I was thinking. Having met somebody that do have values that align with each other. I mean, so many things that I feel like it's irreplaceable. Like, I'm never going to be able to replace him with anything. So I think work is one of the trick now, where I can replace some of that grief and loneliness with like the companionship and the feelings of gratitude that come with like talking with a lot of patients and seeing patients every day.
Right.
But not to the same degree, right? Because I provide care for people, but I don't feel like they necessarily can take care of me the way that Chris did. So,
right.
It is really hard during the holidays. I miss him so much.
Yeah.
it's almost like harder now because, when enough time has passed, you can process emotion better, right? At first, there's so much denial, there's so much shock, like you can't quite process anything. As time goes by, you process things, and then you realize you start having these thoughts of, oh, that's never going to happen. This other thing is never going to happen. What am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about now? About that?
Right.
Like, the realization that he's truly gone, and with him, a life of possibilities and plans is also gone. It's everything that this tragedy took from, not only from me, from everybody that knew him, and from him, most importantly.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that when he died, I felt, crazy shock and denial, like, the biggest denial I could have ever really imagined.
I remember,
but it quickly became, fear and anger.
Yeah.
And anger has dipped into sadness here and there, but I'm still incredibly angry about it, personally.
Of course.
Because he knew better. It's just he knew better, and I'm angry at him. You know what I mean? And like that'll change eventually, I'm sure. But eventually it will change. I'm still angry at him because I miss him, and because it's like it's obviously I cannot compare my loss with your loss, but like me and him shared this thing that's still chugging along without him, and it's just weird. Like I had. What are you gonna say?
You're never gonna get used to doing it without him.
Well, to be honest, though, I'm pretty used to doing it without him, but it makes me angry as hell. Because I love doing it with him. It was so much fun. And it was so stupid, and it was beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, it was a beautiful thing, and I was very fortunate that I got to be able to make the show with him. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, I know that Chris didn't take care of me, but and he wasn't my boyfriend, but he was my brother, and I loved him, and I loved sharing this thing that we had made. It was just fucking the best. And I'm super angry that he's fucking gone, And I think that everybody out there that's getting high that wants to live should really consider potential outcomes in this thing. If you want to die, by all means, think about your family, think about your partner. But if you want to live, just know that Chris had no intention of dying. Right? I mean.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I think what's really hard about this is that addiction is not a black and white situation, right? It's not like, okay, well, like they're not giving you a terminal diagnosis of cancer. You're going to die. You have 3 months to live. But it is like that in the sense that if you are an addict, actively using, you might as well be given a terminal diagnosis because you can really die at any time. It's just that you always think you're going to be that person that is not going to die, and eventually you're going to get clean. I've never had an addict that has told me that they are planning on never quitting. Every addict at some point plans on quitting. And I think the most harmful thought that anybody that's an addict can have is, well, not today, tomorrow. Or when this thing's happened, or when this other thing happened, like, then I'll quit. And then that tomorrow may never come. That mentality of just one more hit, just one more time, just one last time.
Well, it's also very hard.
It will be that last time.
Right. But the other thing, though, that's just fucking weird is that you don't get high like it's life or death. Do you know what I'm saying? You get high like you're getting high. You're not getting high like, well, maybe I'm going to die. You're getting high. You know what I mean? It's like...
there's not a lot of thinking through,
It's just weird. You know what I mean? I know that sounds trite, but it's weird that the outcome could be like... Because it starts off like you're having a drink with your friends, and somehow it turns into this fucking crippling... life-changing, sad and lonely obsession that you never give up. And then all of a sudden, it's the thing that killed you. It's the thing that cost you your job. It's the thing that cost you your place. It's the thing that cost you your whole happiness. And with Chris, it cost him his life. It cost you your partner. It cost me my dopey partner. It cost us our friend. It cost their family, their son. You know, it's like the ripples of his using are just felt. And I think, if nothing else, I think, this is my weird Christmas episode. And and I wanted it to go out there. Like, I wanted to hear from you, and I know everybody wants to hear from you. So it's nice to hear your voice.
Thank you.
I feel like your accent is somehow dissipating. Do you feel like your accent is dissipating?
No. I get compliments about my accent all the time from my patients.
Where are you from? Are you from Venezuela?
Venezuela, yes.
Okay,
originally.
Good. That's what I said.
Yeah, born and raised. I try, Chris, Arden, Chris's sister, told me that every day she tries to do something to kind of celebrate Chris in some way, to kind of take that, legacy that he gave us, even in his death, and pass it along. I've had a particularly hard week in the hospital. I've had several patients die. I've dealt with many patients that are hospitalized, and with a lot of issues, many partially due to addiction problems and substance abuse. And, I more than once I've thought, well, what would Chris do?
Right.
And he would do what he does. He's just, something I realized this week is how empathetic he was, how good he was at making other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, was he always like that, or did that come from the place of, did he develop that empathy because he was in that place where he suffered for so long, and he felt so completely like an outcast, because when you are suffering from a disease that everybody kind of almost feels the right to tell you that you don't have the right to suffer from the disease, like that you don't have the right to empathy, that you don't have the right to treatment, that you don't deserve to get better because it's your choice and it's your fault. I think for a lot of people that could make them bitter, or that could make them be really angry and mad at the world. Yeah.
Right.
And Chris wasn't angry or mad at the world.
I think he was naturally empathetic. I think even if he hadn't been this fuck up addict of the first degree, he was a naturally empathetic person. He was a naturally caring person. He was an overly kind person. He loved people. He loved to be in the mix. As much as he hated like socializing, he loved talking to people,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, oh God, I miss him so much.
I don't want to make this super sad, even though of course it is. It is. It can't not be super sad. It's bittersweet. It's and what I was going to say before, and you don't need to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is like you'll never replace him. But
of course not. I know that.
But life will go on. And somebody, and people, life is an amazing thing, and you never know who's going to bump into you. You never know what's going to happen, and I know that Chris was not your only ticket to happiness. I'm just going to say that, as cold and as fucked up as that might sound. I know that I think there's infinite possibilities of happiness. Frankly. I want to tell you this weird thing that I think about with Chris all the time. So it was right when Todd died, when Chris was still alive, but Chris was using and I didn't realize it. And I went to Todd's funeral, okay? And or I went to go visit his grave with his friends. They had just buried him. And I was talking with Linda about it, and Todd had these very dark blue eyes kind of thing, kind of like a baby, kind of like that blue-gray eyes that a baby has.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, how like another one of Todd's friends was like, well, Todd was always a baby and his eyes never changed, and that's why he was like a baby, and I thought that was funny. And we drove out there, and then I drove with one of his stoner friends to the grave, and there was this kid, Sean. I mean, Sean is a 44-year-old man now, but I always say this kid, Sean. And I'm driving with Sean, and I said, and it had happened when I was looking into my baby's eyes that I was sure that Todd was looking at me. And
that's so beautiful.
And I said to Sean, I said, imagine if it was a science fiction movie where dead people could visit the world through the eyes of a baby, and they could go,
that'd be amazing.
And they could go from baby to baby until the baby starts thinking, that the baby can be a portal. And then,
I'm pretty sure.
You know what I'm saying?
All into that.
Yeah, and Sean looks at me and he goes, "That's the coolest idea I ever heard." And I knew Chris would have loved it too. But I think about that all the time. And when I look into my baby's eyes now, I think about Chris, often. Mm-hmm. And she lights up and smiles and laughs as though it's Chris laughing at me. It's like, it's crazy. And it's like, it's a pretty cool concept. Like, it would be a pretty cool movie, like some kind of weird, you know what I mean? Like the way,
movie.
Yeah. But it reminds me of him, and there's just some, I don't know. I figured you could appreciate it.
I do, actually. I always, I would always tell him how much I loved his eyes. Because they were very much like a little kid's like eyes, just beautiful. And he would always say, "Oh, there's nothing special about my eyes. They're just generic brown eyes." I mean, there was nothing generic about that kid. But yeah, like I constantly, that's one of the things I miss about him, and I think about it a lot. His eyes, his smile, and his eyes. Like there was something so honest about them.
Yeah, he was like the most. He was like a conundrum. He was like the most honest, dishonest person, and like the smartest dumb person, the dumbest smart person. You know what I mean? He was like that. That was his thing.
Yeah, I constantly think about the last couple of months before he passed, when he was using it. Not only you didn't notice, I didn't notice, and
we both noticed, though.
No,
you don't.
I mean, it's kind of like we all noticed but didn't notice at the same time, And there's just like underlying guilt that I've had to deal with this past few months of what if I would have done that? How didn't I? In retrospect, a Vision's 2020. Like it's so obvious that he was using, but it's like. This guilt for not being able to reach him, for not being able to see it more clearly. And even though I did see it towards the end, it's like it was too late. Like he knew he was caught. And I always wonder, like, what life would look like if he hadn't passed. Because it would have been just a relapse and he hadn't passed.
Right, and he got to start over or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We'll never know. Life is what it is now, and with time, obviously, and accepting that it was his choice, and it's not something that I was like, Chris started doing drugs 3 months ago. No, I mean, there's been a pretty. And if you're a Dopey listener, there's been a pretty long, intense history behind it. So it's for a lot of people, this should have happened a long time ago.
Well, I mean, how many people get to use and not die? Hold on for 1 second, please. Mm-hmm. I look at Instagram sometimes, and I look at when I wrote you on Instagram, and it was July 2nd. I looked at it the other day, and I looked at it July 2nd. I wrote you on Instagram, and I said, "Can I talk to you?" You know, and I remember that like it was yesterday because I was standing at the meat cutters at work, and I was freaking out about Chris, and you called me, and then he called me right before you did, and he was like, "Why are you calling Annie? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine." You know, and I don't know how I could believe him. You know, and it's like it just makes me crazy that none of us, we all saw it, but none of us saw it. None of us, you know, we all are around addiction, but none of us thought he was going to die. You know, or whatever, whatever that means, and we all pay the price that he's gone forever. You know. Because you don't know what forever is. It's just weird. Yeah. It's sad. You know, it's obviously sad. It's obviously just a tragedy that we're trying to make sense of.
I just really hope that somehow I can really help people and make a difference. You know, I constantly think, and this is a thought, I'm not by any means saying that this is the reality of most people, some people, because I know that a lot of people get clean and manage to stay clean. But it's just like losing him, especially with my career choice and seeing addicts day in and day out, like I start questioning, and I think there's an important thing to question, like how effective am I? How many people am I truly helping? Are we really helping people, you know? Is it worth it to put in all this effort? Like, are we really making a difference? I mean, I don't have actually, like, objective answers to that. I don't have numbers or studies to say, yes, we are. If anything, the numbers suggest we are not.
Right.
But, you know what? Like, in days like that, I just think, what would Chris do? You know, like, he was a great advocate to this, and we just keep going and we just fight with whatever we got, because that's what you do when things get hard. And I know you miss him. I know everybody listening misses him. And people have asked me a lot what he was like in his personal life, outside of, like, maybe Dopey, or outside of school, or outside of work. And honestly, he was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. So the person that you met through this podcast is the same person that I knew. You know, like, there's really not a whole other side of him that people didn't know.
Well, I think that's also why he loved doing the podcast so much. Like, you know, like, if you saw him on, like, one of those, like, when he would make his TV appearances, that was not like Chris. You know what I mean? That
the hair was definitely not him.
That was like, but that just wasn't like him. You know what I mean? He was like, like, Chris was like super smart, but just as stupid and so funny. You know what I mean? He would undo whatever he said. He was just so funny.
Humor so much.
Yeah. I had this other dream the other night. I actually sometimes, and the Dopey Nation knows this, but when I get sick, I take NyQuil to sleep well. And when I take NyQuil, I have these crazy dreams. And and I recently took NyQuil, and I had this dream with Chris, and I could hear his voice in the dream, like it was very real. He was really angry at me in the dream that I didn't tell him to stop using that. How could I keep going? Not with Dopey. I think it was more like he kind of like pinned his death on me in the dream. You know, like he was. You know how like sometimes he would get irrationally angry at like some.
Oh, totally. I know that too.
Like, and then you could turn him around in the conversation. You could just laugh at him, and you could turn him around.
Yeah, because what else are you going to do when he says something crazy?
He would say crazy shit. When his back was against the wall, he would call it mudslinging. Oh, yeah. That's when he would mudsling against you. And then in the dream, it was like that. But it was crazy because when I woke up, you know, I had been with Chris in the dream. He was there, you know? And that's
keep going.
That was just something very beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, that he can exist. You know, he can fully exist in the dream, you know, and he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had so many dreams like that. I haven't had many dreams like that lately. They are not. They don't come as often. They don't happen as often. But when they do happen, it's like such a gift, because he really is. It's like, and for me, it's people sometimes believe that dreams are the death trying to talk to you. Like, I don't necessarily believe that. I feel like it's your subconscious, like, trying to process things and reconstructing a person, in your dreams. But it's just so amazing how your subconscious, while your dream, can reconstruct somebody so much like you remember them.
It's amazing.
Every single dream I've had with him, he's just saying what I think he would say in the way that he would say it.
Yeah.
Just so perfectly accurate. Like, I go to bed every night hoping I have a dream about him, or he visits me in my dreams, and it's really a treat when that does happen.
I used to have that with my mother. Like, when I would have a dream with my mother, and they were always the weirdest dreams, but but
it doesn't matter.
But in the dream, she was there, and it's like you get so used to them not being around, and then when they're there, it's like, holy shit, like, it's just such a force. I don't know. It's just an amazing thing.
I agree.
And it's also just so amazing how life is life, and when you're gone, you're gone. It's just crazy. But
it also,
what are you gonna say?
not only that, it also is like, I think if anything, this thing that happened has made me live life a lot more to the fullest and kind of not sweat the small things. It's like very easy to forget that and get preoccupied about small things or like keep habits or relationships or people around that are not doing great things for you. And then when something like this happens and tragedy strikes, you're like, man, life is too short. It really is. I know it sounds cliche, but it is. Just live it like you want to live it, and don't sweat the small things. Focus on the true values and the true important things in life.
All right. That's a good positive place to stop, I think. I like that.
Is, yeah.
And why don't you wish the Dopey Nation a Merry Christmas?
Oh yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you spend time with your loved ones, and that you can, stay strong and support each other and hope for a better year.
Yeah.
And, something that you can feel proud of.
Right on. All right.
Whatever that thing is.
That sounds good. Thanks, Annie. I'm sure everybody will love to hear from you, and I always love to hear from you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. So yeah, it's very sad, obviously, but it's very real that Chris died, and that Annie, God bless her, had to find him and have lost him. But and I can't diminish the sadness, but it is Christmas time, and I do want to end this episode, with some positive Christmas wishes to you guys, because Chris died, and it's very, very, very sad. But life has to go on, and you guys have to live. I have to live, and Chris would want it that way. So to bring you guys a special Christmas message, I've brought in the great, the one and the only Nick Reiner. Welcome back to the show.
This is Nick Reiner, and I want to wish the Dopey Nation a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And what else?
What's going on, man? You don't say hi? You go into this pre-recorded thing? I could have just played a voicemail. What's going on with you?
Well, I'm saying hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Yeah? You sober?
Yes.
You're such a liar, Nick. How you come on Dopey to lie?
That's the truth.
Really? No weed?
Yep. No weed.
Really? How long?
About a week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. What was the change of heart?
I just don't feel like I need it, really.
So what was the change of heart?
I don't know, just the Christmas spirit. I'm feeling it.
That's beautiful. Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
Did you ever give your dad the Oy vey hat?
Never.
Did you read the script?
I'll never do that.
Well, why did I send it to you if you're not going to give it to him?
I don't know. You're like harping on the fact that it was $30 and that you sent me this package, and I'm not going to give it to him.
Did you open the package?
No, it's sitting in my room, and it's just a depressing fucking brown bag with these dumb Oy vey hats.
And no, there's Dopey hats in it for you.
Oh.
You don't want the Dopey hat, the fire Dopey?
No.
You don't? Send that shit back. Send it back.
Okay.
Dude, man, what happened to the Christmas spirit?
I don't know.
Dude, you were just...
I guess I'm the only one without the Christmas spirit.
You just said you had the Christmas spirit and it's keeping you from smoking weed.
I think everybody in the Dopey Nation will understand that I'm not going to give my dad the Oy vey hats. They'll get it.
I don't think so. I think it's a disappointment to me and to the Dopey Nation and to
They'll be happy that I'm not smoking weed, and that's about it.
All right. Well, I think your dad would really like.
And next time when I call in, bring a little bit more energy.
Can you just please consider giving your father the gift I spent money to send to you and him?
Okay.
And would you please wear the Dopey hat, for Christ's sake? I sent you a gift, too. Open it up for Christmas this year. Do you guys have a Christmas tree?
All right, I'll put it under the little tree I have.
Do you have a Christmas tree?
Yeah.
So put the Dopey package under the tree, and listen, don't give it to your dad. I don't care. I want you to wear a Dopey hat for the new year, okay? How's that?
All right, how do I get out of this?
Just say yes.
Yes.
What do you mean get out of this? I sent you a gift. It's a hat. Half the Dopey Nation is begging for a free hat. I send you, Nick Reiner, a free one, and you're ungrateful. Hello?
Okay.
All right, Nick. Great to hear from you. Have a very Merry Christmas, my love.
How's it going?
Who's that?
It's a... Did you hear that? I'm the coolest man ever. That's what she just said.
What the fuck is going on?
Everybody's just realizing, never mind.
Well, there he is. Nick Reiner, ladies and gentlemen. Why don't you say another Merry Christmas to make this end better?
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year. Happy Jew Year.
And Happy New Year.
All right, bud. Thank you for calling in. I love you.
All right.
Later.
Much love.
Yes, sir. All right, so that was the great Nick Reiner coming through in the clutch, as he often does. But to close this episode out properly, I called my father to send some good Christmas wishes, and because he's been dying to come on the show, right, Dad?
Well, I don't know about dying to come on the show. You keep intimating that I should come, and then of course I don't. But I'm here, and you know what? I'm in Delray Beach.
Wow,
the home of rehab and Renaissance and old memories, right?
Would you say the ghosts of Christmas past?
Oh yeah, a lot of ghosts down here. That's for sure. A lot of ghosts. Anyway, I do want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. And I also want to say, you're really close to 1 million downloads.
We're inches away, but inches are miles in this business, Dad.
No. You're gonna hit it pretty soon. I mean, it looks like the numbers are moving fast. Holy cow! Isn't it like 976 now? 976,000 today, something like that.
Can I be honest with you? I stopped looking at the downloads because the numbers weren't good enough. I stopped looking at them.
Well, I thought you should have had a contest of somebody to predict the day that 1 million.
All right, so why don't you hold on? Why don't you set up your contest idea right now?
Well, what's the date? Today is December 21st.
Well, the show's going to come out tomorrow night, so say December 22nd.
All right, it's December 22nd. And my prediction, I'm going to say, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say January 24th.
That's ironically my father's birthday.
Right. Yes.
So you predict on your birthday that the podcast will get 1 million downloads.
Well, I think I'm going to be off. I think it's going to be in February, but I thought it was cute to predict January 24th.
I predict February 27th.
Oh, you're lucky that it's 27 days in February. That's good. What about February 15th? What do you think?
I say no.
Okay. Right.
Now, what was I thinking? So also, so if the Dopey Nation wants to predict the day that we hit 1 million downloads, send in an email, send in a voicemail, and the winner just might get something.
Oh, yeah? You're actually going to give something?
I said they might get something.
Oh, they might. Yes, I hope your viewers understand you sometimes when you're making these comments.
I hope you understand that there are no viewers, there's just listeners.
Oh, well, I meant listeners, yes. You know I meant listeners.
Now, I believe that you've been saving up some criticism. You haven't been on the show for a little while. And
I have a million things.
All right, so let's go fast, Dad. Let's go fast.
All right, first of all, the New York Times today has this big story where they're asking people to send in stories about recovery. And obviously, you've been doing that for 2.5, 3 years.
So you think the New York Times is about to steal Dopey, too?
Well, they finally got onto it, and deaths by addiction is now more than gun violence and automobile accidents.
Listen, save that for somebody else's podcast. Get to the criticism.
All right. The criticism is in terms of and you know what I mean. I think you're getting better with that. Even Bob Forrest was doing it also. You know what I mean. You need to have conversations where you don't keep repeating yourself by saying, you know what I mean.
So you're saying that your criticism is that Bob Forrest says, you know it. You say that I don't say it, but your criticism is that Bob Forrest says, you know what I mean too much.
No, he probably copied it from you. No, I'm saying you say it too often, but you're getting better at it. I mean, because maybe me saying something about it is getting you to think about it.
Is this a compliment or a criticism? I really can't tell.
I'm trying to make it into a compliment. You're getting really much better at it.
I think you're getting better at your criticisms. They feel much better than they used to. What else you got?
Well, this thing about Justin and the Norwegian guy, of course they're right. I mean, your podcast has nothing to do with how to make an app. Your podcast is about drug addiction and all the other stuff that you talk about. And of course they were right about that. And I guess you think you were joking with them or something. But,
you know what? I say that they're wrong, that the podcast has always been about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. And I say podcast production falls into the dumb shit, but actually, now that you're on the phone,
a minor part of it.
Shush, just be quiet.
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, I got this message from the Norwegian. He says, "Hello, Dave. It was very funny that you read my email in episode 165. I don't really fuck so much, so it was strange that you called me a fucking Norwegian." You get the joke? Don't know. Maybe there is a myth about Norwegians fucking a lot. This guy's got jokes. Anyway, I understand now that it was incorrect of me to criticize the fact that you have a hang-up on talking about how to name and create podcasts, as this falls under one of your 3 pillars in your show, drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. Anyway, what a comeback in episode 165. Great show. It was very interesting to learn Don's story. I wish him all the best in his recovery. I wish you and your family, including you, a happy Christmas. Just realized now that you are Jewish. Stay strong in Toodles. Best regards, Roger.
That's very nice. That's terrific. That's really good. Excellent. Obviously, has a good. Now listen to this one.
Yeah.
You actually said on the last episode that you were unhappy for 42 years. Now that really.
When did I say that?
You said it in the last. Go play back your episode.
What did I? In regards to what?
In regards to your life, that you've only been happy in the last 3 years or something.
That's what I said?
Well, that's what you said. I mean, you can go check it out. I may be losing it altogether in terms of my abilities to think, but I don't agree with that so easily. But in any case, that's what I think you said, though. Yes, and that's ridiculous.
I think it's true. I was a fucking terrible drug addict. I was miserable. The life you gave me was so sad. All I could do was shoot heroin to enjoy my life. It's terrible.
Give me a break.
Okay, what else you got?
Well, hold it now. You're gonna actually let that stay out there? That you weren't happy when you were a little kid? You weren't happy going to the zoo, to the park? You weren't happy?
No, I had a very, very happy childhood. It was incredibly fulfilling. It only emotionally scarred me for a lifetime of drug addiction. But let's move past that. What's the next criticism?
You're terrible. That's the criticism.
Okay, that's fair. What, you got anything else?
That's awful. I mean, look, Dopey Nation, he was a sweet kid. He was a good kid, and he's giving me a hard time now. Anyway, that's it. So what else do you have?
What about the anti-Aurora comments?
Oh, no. Aurora is wonderful. She's a sweet girl. But again, if you're going to be on a podcast, I'm not going to say radio, but if you're going to be on a podcast and you're interviewing people or people are speaking, they really have to be aware of not repeating things like I know, or you know what I mean.
You just said, as you said, you know what I mean.
That's what I was just saying. Yeah,
you just did it. So you're saying when you're saying it to me and that I'm getting good at it, what you're really saying is Aurora did it too much.
No, I'm saying you did it too much.
You just said I was getting better about
Aurora. You are getting better. I mean,
but Aurora is worse, right?
I am not going to say anything bad about Aurora. I'm just saying Aurora should be aware of that.
Would you say Aurora's the worst at being interviewed, that she says those things way too much?
Absolutely not. I will not say that.
Aurora doesn't listen to the show anyway, so you can be honest about her. No, she doesn't listen.
She's going to listen to this one.
She only listens to it if she's on.
Well, she'll know that we're talking about her. It's the same difference. I think she's terrific, and I was absolutely surprised about what a difficult time she had. I didn't know anything about mother and the family. I didn't know any about that.
You know what the English people?
It was very moving.
Do you know what English people say for the word surprised?
No. Well, I should know, but I don't.
They say gobsmacked.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Yeah, gobsmacked.
Would you say you were gobsmacked by her tragic upbringing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you say absolutely gobsmacked?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Anyway.
Should I say gobsmacked? I just said absolutely gobsmacked.
All right. Do you got anything else, or is that it?
Let's see. Let me have my list here. I got that. So anyway, so how are you doing in terms of? Also, this thing about being sobriety.
Yes.
Dealing with life, everybody has to deal with it. I mean, just because if you're a drug addict, you're not dealing with real life. But real life, of course, has problems, and people just have to learn how to deal with it. There's no panacea about life being so easy for everybody. It's not.
Dad, let me ask you a question. Did you ever consider going into the addiction field? Because I think you could really straighten a lot of people out with that.
No, I never thought about that. I'm still teaching. I'm doing my shtick. I'm teaching about science and science education, and I think that is a very important thing for me to keep doing.
The idea is that addicts tend to struggle with the difficulties in life and use drugs because they have a hard time dealing with it.
Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. And the New York Times had a big article today about what causes addiction and the difficulty of stopping. And that recovery is incredibly possible. That's one of the good parts at the end of it, I think. Anyway, so happy holidays to everybody. And listen, so I guess I'm going to listen to this on Saturday. I'm coming home on Saturday, so
I'm sure I'll hear about that the episode has its ups and downs, but it was one of the best ones because you got to be back on it.
Listen, I don't ever say that.
You think it though. That's what you think.
No,
You say this guy was kind of long-winded. He wasn't that good. This girl, it was okay. Nick Reiner, he always stinks. And my segment was just too short. That's what you're going to say.
I'm not going to say anything of the above. I just want to say, again, happy holidays to everybody, and make sure you stay smart and stay safe and think first. I think is another one of these comments that people should have in their heads.
All right, Dad. Thank you for calling in, and I'm sure we'll get you back on the show soon enough. And I'll see you this weekend.
Very good. All right, Davey. I love you very much.
All right, I love you too.
All right.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
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 So there was the Dopey Christmas episode, and here's a few Christmas messages from the Dopey Nation. Write in a review for Chris. He loved reviews. And for me, I like reviews. Send in an email. Send in a really good voicemail that's short and funny with a drug story attached. And stay strong, Dopey Nation. It's fucking holidays. Everybody gets all fucked up during the holidays. Try to protect yourself. Don't do anything stupid. Recovery could be fun. Just give it a chance. Just give it a shot. Like good old Gabby. Gabby's giving it a shot. Stay strong, everybody. Sorry the episodes are so long. It's just so much stuff. Got to get out to the people. Stay strong, and toodles for Chris, who we miss. And, it's just first Christmas without Chris, and it's Christmas, CHRISTMAS, but it's always Christmas, CHRISMISS on Dopey. We love you and miss you, and you fucked it up, but we love you anyway. Stay strong, everybody. Bye.
This is Jeremy Turner, a.k.a. Whitey Tidies, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Toodles.
Dopey Nation, it's Patrick, one of the three assholes from Don't Die, Wisconsin. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, be safe, don't die, motherfuckers. Toodles.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Dopey Nation. This is Gabby in Australia. I'm spending my New Year's in detox, so happy fucking New Year's to me. Happy fucking New Year's to you guys. Love you all, and keep safe. All right.
Hey, Dopey Nation. This is Ryan from Don't Die, Wisconsin. Merry Christmas, or Kwanzaa, or Hanukkah, or whatever, solstice. Anyway, toodles.
This is Simon LeBon from Duran. I won't be coming on the bleeding pod anytime soon, but I just wanted to wish the Dopey Nation a happy Christmas and a joyous New Year. Toodles.
Hey man, this is Mike Mart from Bob Forrest Don't Die podcast, wishing the Dopey Nation happy holidays.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas. It's Hot Wheels. Hoping y'all stay safe. Some of you are going to want to run out, get high, drink, get drunk, get all messed up because it's fucking the holiday season. If that spirit moves and you think you don't want to use, hit me up, hit somebody up. I'm all over Twitter and Facebook. My phone number's on Dopey. I'll give it to you again. 847-513-3289. Call somebody before you pick up. Don't fucking die. Merry Christmas.
Hi, this is Aurora, Dopey Nation. Alan, I have a bone to pick with you. I don't say too much. But I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thanks for my sobriety, Dopey Nation.
What's up, Dopey Nation? This is Randy, a.k.a. Billy Baru. I'm happy to report that I just received my 2-year sobriety chip. Dopey is a huge part of my recovery, and I am forever grateful to Chris and Dave. I want to wish the Dopey Nation a safe and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's make 2019 the best year ever.
Yo, what up, Dopey Nation? This is Andrew G. from Philly and the Dopey Nation Facebook page. I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, stay strong. Toodles.
What's up, Dave and the Dopey Nation? This is Megan from the Dictionary Podcast out here in Boston. Just wanted to send some love your way during this holiday season, and Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Hey, what's going on, Dopey Nation? This is Jed from the Church and Other Drugs podcast. Just wanted to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, a Happy Festivus, a joyous Kwanzaa, and a merry, non-denominational, non-threatening holiday season. Stay strong.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. This is Graphic Design Ryan wishing the Dopey Nation a safe and happy Christmas. Please, no one do anything fucking stupid.
What's up, Dopey Nation? It's Amy Dresner, author of My Fair Junkie. Holidays are a tricky time. It was Christmas that I got loaded on Oxy and pulled a knife on my horrible ex-husband and went to jail for felony domestic violence. I do not suggest that. Stay away from sharp objects if you are high on Christmas. It can be an easy time to feel deprived, but you know what? Fuck it. It's a couple days, and if you're a Jew, it don't matter. It's just time for Chinese food and movies. I don't know why I'm doing that dumb voice. Anyway, stay strong, you guys. My Fair Junkie loves you. Toodles. Big kiss.
Hello. This is Eugene Meyerson from Hopwalk, New York, wishing everybody out there a very, very Merry Christmas. Except for Vice, because they suck. Stay strong, Dopey Nation.
Hello, Dopey Nation. This is Ismael. I said I would never come on the show, but I would like to wish everybody in the Dopey Nation a Merry Christmas and a happy, happy New Year. So stay strong, my brothers and sisters in recovery, and toodles. What is this, Martin Luther King Jr. Day or something?
Hey, this is Bob. I'm over in Echo Park celebrating Christmas with my family, and I just want to say I am a devoted freak, fanatic member of the Dopey Nation. Happy holidays.
I want to take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I want to be good so bad. Want to be so good, so bad, so bad. I want to be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And I want to take a ride up in the sky. Watch this aeroplane just pass me by. And I want to see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. But I want to be good so bad. Want to be so good, so bad, so bad. I want to be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to where I stand. Shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to where I stand. And I wonder would they pay it any mind when I leave this busted city far behind. I'll take the high road, however far it winds, because peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. And I want to be good so bad. Want to be good so bad, so bad. I want to be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. Damn it, all these suckers make me mad. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and I want to call my dad, and it's all I ever